What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Meet the Zor. I'm Nick Powills, publisher of 1851franchise.com. Today we are talking Pollo Campero, and I like it when I get to talk to a friend because it makes these a lot easier. So, Blas, thanks for doing this. What I would like to start off with is there's going to be a lot of people who have got to the starting line in franchising, maybe specifically with Pollo Campero, maybe with something else. And they're looking for this trigger to push them over the edge. I believe what has happened with the brand over the last, say, 2 years has positioned this, that there's a supply and demand issue that will eventually come up because you have great blood coming into the system. So what I would like to start off with is give us kind of the state of the union, what's going on with the business today, and then lead that into why should someone even care about looking at the brand right now?
Well, first of all, Nick, thanks for inviting me here. Great to be with you again. What's happened since the last conversation we had, our podcast probably a year and a half or so ago, the brand has really accelerated in growth. For example, this year we've opened 10 units. It's really a record for us. Actually, last week I just came back from opening in Rock Hill, South Carolina, which was a franchise unit. We opened a corporate unit on the same day. So you can see that it's the first time in our history that we actually opened 2 units. We opened our 100th store last month in Miami Gardens, very successful. So what we've seen in the last year or so is a tremendous acceleration of the brand across the U.S. In markets that we want to penetrate, which is Florida, New York, California. And then me as a franchise development person, I have to fill in the rest of the U.S. with franchise partners. So the state of the business is we ended the year with record profits last year. Same store sales were double digit. We grew our top line revenues by 19%. This year, the first quarter, we continue to be double digit same store sales growth for Q1. We don't see any deceleration in our same store sales growth. We continue to see pretty consistent double digit same store sales growth over the last couple of years. Actually, since the pandemic, we continue to experience very good positive same store sales growth. And we've been able to bring in new partners, franchise partners over the last year. We brought in a group from Knoxville, we brought in Phoenix, Arizona, we brought in Northern Georgia, New Orleans. And we have a pipeline, to your point, Nick, that has really started to increase over the last 6 months with a lot of these openings that have really helped us present the brand to others that maybe didn't know us before, but saw us in their markets where we opened, and they liked what they saw. They came and tried our food. And at the end of the day, they came and inquired about, potentially being a franchise partner. So everything's going well. We always are very aware of the competitive environment, the macro environment that we operate. So we're very careful and diligent to ensure that we continue to perform not only as a system, but also knowing that we have all these units in development, which are over 60 units that we have signed leases and about 24 units that are currently in construction phase.
Out of that unit pipeline, what is the percentage corporate to franchisee?
Right now we have 15% 15% franchise, and 85% corporate. We hope to eventually get to more of a 30-70 mix, 30% franchise, 70% corporate. We're looking at that probably in the next 4 or 5 years. So there's a lot of opportunities we still have in the franchise as well as a corporate, but we expect to eventually shift a little bit more to franchise in the next couple of years for sure.
In my opinion, there's the two best kept secrets in franchising are corporate growth or franchisee growth. And I look at brands, and it's part of the razzle dazzle of business. You look at a brand that has no corporate footprint and it's all franchise, and then you really dive in, and are their franchisees really expanding or not? And if they're not expanding or not hitting their development agreements, then the odds of it really being a viable business opportunity deteriorate. When I hear the percentages, 85% is corporate, shouldn't everybody in the world say, all right, you clearly know something that everybody else doesn't know. And from a mood standpoint, because I go back a year and a half, obviously things are good because you're still opening corporate, but now it's almost like franchise buyers, the good operators, are starting to listen to that data and say, okay, what am I missing here, and why am I not jumping on this boat? Is that like part of the shift that's also happening?
Yeah, that's a great point, Nick. What we see is the good news is when I go out and visit with franchise candidates, one of the things they want to know is, are you investing in the business? And the answer is absolutely 100%. Our parent company is actually investing about $190 million over the next 5 years just for corporate development and also for franchise support. So that tells you the commitment that we have as far as an organization to ensure that this brand really resonates with the different markets that we're going to be operating in, but also to bring the brand awareness. That's one thing with when you have 103 units like we do today, you don't really have the footprint across the U.S. to bring the brand awareness. As we start increasing our brand awareness with new openings and new markets, for example, we opened in Manhattan last year. We're going to continue. Next week, we open one in Chinatown in Manhattan, which is going to be another opening for us. It's really a time where franchise prospects always ask, what is your commitment? And they're surprised and pleasantly surprised that we are all in. It also shows that we have dedicated our resources also to support the franchise growth. So we purposely did not franchise for about 4 or 5 years. And the reason we did that was we wanted to make sure we had the platform for growth, not only for corporate units, but also to ensure that we had the support necessary for franchisees to be successful. As we did that and the pandemic came around, it was kind of perfect timing for us. We came out of the pandemic with all the processes and procedures and actually the expertise that we hired for the people that were going to lead this effort going forward, whether it was corporate or franchise. So it was a great situation for us to finally say, we're ready for franchising. We have the platform, we have the people, we have the expertise, we have the tools, the support structure, which is here in Dallas where I'm at. Now we've grown, I can't tell you how big the office has grown. It's probably doubled in the last 2 years, but it's been really good in the sense that we are now getting the traction necessary to give the support levels, whether it's construction, marketing, site selection, QA, whatever the franchise needs are, we're there to support them. And that's something that they really appreciate when they come and visit us for Discovery Day, is that they see that we have dedicated resources to make sure that they're successful. So to answer your question, it's been a transformation for the brand over the last 2 or 3 years that is really leading to a lot of inquiries for the brand as far as franchising.
I want to shift over to the product, and I could take Manhattan and Chinatown. Like if you said Chinatown, Pollo Campero 5 years ago, I'd been like, there's no chance.
Right.
But what I find fascinating, and I've said this to you before, like the quality of the product is tremendous, but where the brand has historically been has been more conditioned to historic customers. Like you would go in a very specific demographic versus inching into main and main. And now what's interesting is as Pollo Campero continues to get closer to main and main, like people are like, wow, how did I not know this existed? And you can see this in the reactions. And obviously the word flavorful is all over everything that you guys do. Is that part of the magic? Is that obviously it takes time and patience to have exposure to every type of consumer, but now that predominantly chicken is making its way to the everyday customer, every single type of customer, that's also opening up new opportunity, and that's also impacting same store sales?
Yep. And what we've done really in the last couple of years is we want to invite non-legacy customers. Our legacy customers are Central Americans who know the brand. They've known the brand. Pollo Campero has been around since 1971. Was started in Guatemala City, moved over to El Salvador. So we have a legacy customer who has migrated over the years to the US that has known the brand. So those are the fanatics. Those are the people that just feel nostalgic that have nostalgic feelings for the brand. As we've started to increase our presence in the US, we've gone purposely to areas where we're mainstream, where we're in A sites, we're in sites that have high traffic, high visibility. We want people to know who we are. So that has really brought in a consumer who maybe did not know us, but sees us as they're driving on their way to work or back home, vice versa. And that's the opportunity that we see not only from a brand presence with the build out, but also from a marketing perspective. We've done a lot with social media. We've done a lot with our grand openings that we have out there that we are starting to see the traction where crossover non-legacy Central American customers are starting to know who we are. And I can give an example. In Rock Hill, I was there last week in South Carolina, and it was predominantly crossover. So it was an opportunity to present the brand to them. Like you mentioned, flavorful chicken meals is something that we hang our hat on and we're very proud of. But they were amazed at the quality of the food. It was the fried chicken, which is really our signature item, tender, crunchy, juicy. That's something that everybody who's ever tasted Pollo Campero recognizes the flavors of the chicken that we serve. But also they were pleasantly surprised at the build out, the customer service, the menu offerings that we had. In fact, we just came out this week, Nick, with a new couple of chicken sandwiches, queso chicken sandwich, and also a buffalo slaw sandwich, which are our two signature sandwiches that we came out. So menu innovation is something that we also look at when we attempt to appeal to crossover markets. So it's been a combination of factors of menu innovation, site selection, customer experience, marketing that has really brought a new customer to the brand. And we always say this internally, once they taste the chicken, I think they get hooked on it. They know that it's a great product. They love it. It's unique. It's flavorful. And that's something that we continue to see with new customers that come in our restaurants. They to your point, where have you been all this time? I've not really seen you around, but now you're the new person in town and I want to taste you. And that's something that is very unique that we have to offer. And people nowadays, Nick, are wanting to taste flavors of the world. The younger generation likes to taste new foods of the world and flavors. And that's a very good, unique spot that we're in, not only with the flavors, but the chicken category, which is one of the fastest categories in the restaurant industry. So you combine that with the customer service, which we believe is something that we're very special at. We want them to believe they're part of the Campero family. Once they come into our restaurants, that they treat it like family, because we don't see them as necessary customers, but we see them as family members. And that's really been the secret of the brand over the last several years.
Is that secret now starting to appear on franchising? And did franchising in essence have the same challenge that the consumer base had, in that where's the exposure to the right people? They might go to the very simplistic brands to inquire or own. And now that you're front and center, like, is this changing that degree of momentum too, that a franchise buyer is like, where have you been this whole time? And then they're like, wait, you're going to treat me like family? This is incredible. Has it translated over?
It has, in the sense that, we have franchisees, believe it or not, who have known the brand in the past. Maybe they lived in California and they relocated to either North Carolina, Tennessee, Northern Georgia. So we've had a lot of movement. And the brand Pollo Campero has been in Southern California since 2002. And that store that we opened in 2002, by the way, is still operating. And it's one of the most successful restaurants today still. But what's happened is you have people who have known the brand, and when they relocate to some of these other states, they kind of have interest in seeing if they have an opportunity to bring the brand to those states. Nashville is one, North Carolina, South Carolina, Northern Georgia. We're working on some other states here in the US. But it has translated to where they have had certain experiences with the brand themselves. And once we are promoting the brand, once I go out and go to different events, they come across and they have great experiences that I ask them, how do you know the brand? Maybe a family member brought it back from Central America. maybe one of the relatives is from Central America, or maybe they lived in an area of the U.S. where they did exist and they did have that experience, but where they're living now, it doesn't exist, but they want the opportunity to bring that flavor to their different markets. So there's a combination of great stories that I come across for the brand, and that's really what's resonating with our franchise profile and our franchise community. For example, Rock Hill, I just mentioned that is one of our existing franchisees who has already 2 units in North Carolina and in Charlotte, specifically, and one in Raleigh, and this is our 4th unit. And this is a different dynamic from the other 3. It's something that's more mainstream, something that the brand does have an awareness there, but it wasn't physically close to the crossover like we had in the other restaurants. So it's been a good fit for the brand in North Carolina, and we continue to see it to where people even want to go further south in South Carolina to bring the brand over to them. So it's an incredible situation with the brand that you have so many touch points of people having experience with the brand that kind of makes it exciting. And you can see their eyes open when I talk to them about Pollo Campero. They see me with my shirt and they say, "Wow, you're the Campero guy." And I say, "Yeah, I'm here." But there's always a story behind that. And that's what's so special about the brand. There's always a special story that brings them a nostalgic feel to who we are.
You've been part of many different areas of the business, and you're a loyalist. You've been at this company for a very long time. Can you remember back to a moment that you've felt more excited than you are today? Because, like, obviously I've known you for a long time, and it's like, we know we got a great business, but X. Like,
Yeah.
Do you feel like you've now gotten over this hurdle of awareness and exposure and support and all these other elements, that it's finally just like all firing on all cylinders now?
Nick, that's a great question. I think we're in a really great position as far as where our growth, our strategy, our success in operating the restaurants that we recently opened in the last year. And what is so exciting about the brand, since I've been here 7 years, to your point, we've gone through, a great recession, the pandemic, and, we came out of the pandemic stronger than ever. But the momentum that we have now, not only here in the US, but worldwide with Central America and different parts where we operate, is what really gets me excited. It's something that probably 17 years ago, when I used to travel around the US, people didn't recognize the brand. People wouldn't stop me and say, "Who's Pollo Campero?" Now I get that a lot, whether it's a pilot on an airplane, or someone at the TSA line, or someone within the communities that I work, that I'm trying to recruit. That tells me that the brand has started to resonate, and that's where it gets me excited. And that's led to a lot of inquiries, quite honestly, that we've had over the last year or so. And that's kind of where we're seeing. I was talking to our people in here internally, and I think I have received inquiries from every state in the U.S., including Hawaii and Alaska, for a Pollo Campero. So that is something that I would never have thought of maybe 5-6 years ago, but that's a momentum that we've built. And that's the exciting part of what the brand's all about. And as we continue to go down this year, I just see tremendous momentum with corporate openings, a pipeline that is very strong, markets that have accepted us, whether it's a new market or existing market, and the people that we have also hired, and also our franchise partners that are part of our system, they also have the passion. And that's what makes it exciting to wake up and come to work. And it's not work really when you're enjoying what you're doing. And that's really what we feel over here at Pollo Campero, to be honest.
I would imagine we obviously have a ton of people watching this live. And to anybody that's watching, if you do have questions for Blas, go ahead and put it in the chat. I'll make sure that they get answered. But I would imagine it'd be very hard to be a franchise prospect without falling in love with the food first. And so that's part of obviously the gap that continues to get closed. The more human beings that are able to fall in love with the product, who are financially capitalized, who have a scale mindset that want to enter the system, when they reach out, they're hitting on something nostalgic, whether it was a recent experience or it goes back to being a kid. They're connecting in, bridging in financial bandwidth. They're looking at the market for availability, and then they're inquiring. I would imagine if I said talk to the candidate, they already know who you are. It's just a timing challenge right now. Is that accurate?
Yeah, and we have timing challenge, but what's interesting, Nick, is they might know about the brand, but they really don't have the intimate knowledge of the brand. And that's kind of where I come in and kind of give them the history of the brand. Because when you hear the history of Pollo Campero, it's really an amazing story. You know, it started out very from humble beginnings in Guatemala City, unique recipe, family owned. It's still, the recipe's still been maintained all these 53 years. So when you start looking at how the brand started and where we're at now, it's really an amazing story of how it has been able to become a global icon brand. We look at it as one that's not just US, but we feel that it's really an iconic brand that people, not everywhere in the world, but a lot of places in the world, where in Latin America specifically, where they really know the brand. And I think that is what is the exciting piece of bringing the brand to prospects. Is you might have tasted it, you might have experienced it, or some family member kind of told you their experience, but I can kind of fill in some of the gaps as far as, what's the history, how do we do here in the US? What's the history of us opening in the US? The long lines that we've seen at some of our openings, what is that all about? Why are people so passionate? That's the part that I kind of fill in for them. And then once they start hearing who we are and the brand, the power of the brand, it starts clicking on them. They start understanding, you know what, I get what you're talking about and why people will drive hundreds of miles to come and eat your chicken. I don't understand why they do it, but they do it all the time. And now they understand why we do that. They do it.
All right. So one question that came in, and I'm going to duel these together. Roberto said, who handles your distribution, and is your product fresh or frozen? Can you address both of those?
Sure. We have a DMA, which is coverage around the US. So we have coverage from distribution. DMA is our distributor throughout the US. Our product is fresh. It's injected from our supplier with the marinade. So it always comes to our store. It's not frozen, it's fresh. And then at the store is where we bread it with proprietary breading. So it's a two process. Fresh from the supplier, where it's marinated, and it comes to our store, and then that's when we bread it, and then that's when we serve it. So it's a very short period of time from the point where we receive it, about 14 days from the supplier to the time we are able to serve to our customers. But we always maintain that freshness, and it's been around for 53 years, and we continue to do that.
Gabriella actually asked for what the next steps are. Said financially qualified, check all the boxes, and not that I want to expose you, but there's your email address. I'll put it on the screen just so that right, Blas, on there. So that's good. Yeah, I mean, and frankly, the sentiment. I mean, we have tons of people that are commenting in our chat room, just saying, I've been looking for the brand, I've been waiting for the brand, I'm excited for the brand, and I think that's ultimately what we're talking about. Is let's give you a vision, which you did. Let's create a point of differentiation in our product, which you've done. Let's show that we're putting our money where our mouth is, which you guys are doing clearly on the corporate side. Let's expand our flavors into markets that we may have not touched before. Let's ensure that we're keeping the passion of our internal team and our external team as excited as humanly possible. Let's continue to innovate, which you talked about, new sandwiches that are coming on the menu. Like, it seems like all the boxes are checking. So let's close with this. Give us a glimpse of what you expect of the next 12 months.
Next 12 months is continued growth. I mean, when I look at our development pipeline, Nick, next week we have an opening. The following week we have openings. We have openings till the end of the year. Our goal is to get at least to 25 units. We're at 10. So I think we might be able to exceed that. So that's what we're doing. We also are doing a lot of marketing to ensure that we get the message out. Some of the new store openings, for example, our 100 store opening in Miami Gardens, the one we had in Ontario, California, recently, we spent a lot of time, effort to ensure that the community that we went into and opened our restaurants knew who we were. So we are definitely investing in new store openings to make sure that it's successful from the beginning, because we want as many people to come in, and we know that the experience is very important when they come into a restaurant, especially during grand opening, that we don't want any missteps. And we work very hard to train our people to ensure that everyone who comes in the front door first time, that they understand our menu, they understand who we are, the service, they feel good coming in. And it's an experience that eventually we expect them to come back over and over as one of our customers. So especially in new markets, that's very important. So we have the corporate side that's going to continue growing, and then the franchise side, we continue to grow. We have some openings at the end of the year that are going to happen in Minnesota, and another one in North Carolina, and then Phoenix is a new market. So we expect those to open by the end of this year, and Phoenix will be a great market for us. It's a big state. It's a lot of population that's been there. So, and a lot of expectations, because a lot of people from Phoenix actually drive to either Las Vegas or Los Angeles to buy our product. So we expect some big things. So a lot of accelerated growth, not only this year, but we are putting the pieces together for the next 3-4 years. So what we're doing here, for example, signing leases, putting together design. We're coming out with a new prototype and a new design that's going to be rolling out in the next year or so. Those are the things that we are continuing to do, as well as ensuring that we remain relevant in the digital world, the digital age of menu boards and online ordering and mobile app, which we're going to be revamping the mobile app to ensure that we're up to standards and technologies. Savvy people who are always challenging you from a technology standpoint to ensure that the customer experience is a pleasant one. So we continue to invest in those things, and we believe that those things are going to really take us to the next level of becoming, a 250 unit franchise system here in the Campero system for the next 5 years, where we have both franchise and corporate units add up to 250.
Put Blas's contact information on the screen for anybody that does want to reach out to him, ask him questions there. I'm just going to put this up here because it's been an hour.
I welcome all the calls and the questions. Colorado, I love Colorado. I've been working on Colorado. We actually had a road show in Colorado last year, and it was well attended. And I would be more than happy to talk to anyone. There are a couple of candidates that I am talking to in not only Colorado, but Salt Lake City. It's a situation where there's continuing conversations. One of the things that we're doing, Nick, and everyone who's on this, is we want to make sure it's the right partner. We want to make sure that the partner that we bring in is someone, of course, who knows who we are, but also has the experience in the QSR industry, the capital requirements, knows that they have a franchisee system that they need to work in under, and that it's a long-term commitment. It's a lot of work and effort that needs to happen, and sometimes people need to understand the level of commitment of being a franchisee in a franchisor system. So we want to be very careful that we bring in the right partners, especially in new markets such as Colorado and Utah. So if there's anyone here or any of the other states, and you can go to our website, campero.com, and there's a franchise tab. We'll show you the different markets that I'm franchising. So if you're interested in them, drop me a line, send me an email. I'd be more than happy to talk to you.
Love it. Blas, what a great conversation. And we're going to have to do this sooner than later because 90 people registered for this one. It's great to have everybody pay attention and listen. Again, reach out to Blas if you have more questions. But thanks for sharing some of your story. Thanks, Blas.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Take care. If you need more information, visit our website or Pollo Campero's, and you'll find plenty of more to guide you on your journey to becoming a franchise owner. Take care.